What if everything you've been taught about building muscle is quietly working against the one thing you actually want, which is a long, strong, vibrant life? Most of the advice out there comes from bodybuilders and fitness influencers who are chasing a look, not a lifespan. They'll get you big, they'll get you shredded, and they'll get you inflamed, exhausted, and aging faster than you realize. This isn't that kind of video. This is about building muscle the smart way, the way that makes you look good and feel incredible, while also protecting your brain, your hormones, and your years ahead. Stick with me, because what you're about to learn could completely change how long and how well you live. Let's start with why this even matters so much. As we get older, one of the biggest threats to our survival isn't heart disease or even cancer in the way most people assume. It's something called sarcopenia, which is simply the medical word for losing muscle. When people stop training, stop moving with intention, and let their muscle quietly waste away, their risk of dying from any cause more than doubles compared to people who preserve their muscle. Read that again. Just losing muscle mass alone can double your risk of death. That single fact should change the way you think about every workout you do or skip for the rest of your life. Most people think of muscle as just something for lifting heavy things or looking good at the beach, but that's a tiny fraction of what it actually does for you. Muscle is metabolically alive tissue that acts like a sponge for sugar in your bloodstream, pulling glucose out and storing it safely as glycogen. The more muscle you carry, the more stable your blood sugar and insulin levels stay throughout the day. And when your blood sugar and insulin are stable, your body experiences far less oxidative stress and inflammation, which are two of the biggest drivers of aging and chronic disease. So every rep you do is quietly protecting you from the inside out. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Muscle tissue doesn't just sit there, it actually communicates with your brain. When you train, your muscles release tiny protein messengers called myokines, and these myokines travel through your bloodstream straight to your brain, where they trigger the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of this as literal fertilizer for your brain cells. It boosts neuroplasticity, sharpens memory, improves emotional regulation, and helps shield your brain from the kind of oxidative damage linked to Alzheimer's and other forms of cognitive decline. In other words, when you train your muscles, you are directly training your brain to stay young. So, if muscle is this powerful, why does so much popular fitness advice actually work against your long-term health? The answer lies in a concept most people have never heard of: the balance between anabolic and catabolic states. Anabolic simply means building up, and catabolic means breaking down and cleansing. Your body is designed to cycle naturally between these two states. But most bodybuilding advice keeps you locked in anabolic mode almost constantly, telling you to eat every few hours and flood your system with protein and carbs around the clock. Yes, this builds muscle fast, but it also floods your body with constant inflammation, non-stop cell division, and relentless oxidative stress that quietly erodes your long-term health. On the flip side, if you swing too far the other way and stay catabolic for too long, your body never gets the signal to rebuild, and that's exactly how sarcopenia creeps in. The secret isn't picking one side, it's learning how to cycle intelligently between the two, giving your body permission to build and repair, and then giving it permission to break down, cleanse, and renew. That rhythm is what separates people who build muscle that ages them from people who build muscle that keeps them young. And the good news is, once you understand this rhythm, it becomes incredibly simple to apply in your everyday life. Let's talk about the first pillar of this approach, and that's resistance training done the right way. You want to lift in a rep range that genuinely challenges your muscles, generally somewhere between 6 and 12 reps per set. If you're specifically trying to build more size and strength, aim closer to 5 or 6 reps up to around 10, using a weight heavy enough that the last rep feels genuinely difficult. If your main goal is more toward endurance and toning, you can shift toward the 8 to 12 rep range. Anything beyond 15 reps done easily still offers some benefit for your metabolism and mitochondria, but it won't give you the true muscle-building stimulus your body needs to grow stronger. Just as important as the reps is the type of exercise you choose. Compound movements, which work multiple muscle groups at once, should be the backbone of every workout you do. Think squats, deadlifts, bench presses, bent-over rows, pull-ups, and overhead presses. These movements recruit far more muscle fibers, trigger a much bigger release of growth-promoting hormones, and give you dramatically better results for the time you invest. Isolation exercises, like bicep curls or leg extensions, aren't useless, but they're a poor use of your limited time and energy if they're the main focus of your training. Save them for the end of your workout, and let compound lifts do the heavy lifting, literally and figuratively. Never skip leg day, and I mean that seriously. Your legs contain some of the largest muscle groups in your entire body, and training them triggers a massive hormonal response that benefits your entire system, not just your lower body. Squats, lunges, and deadlifts aren't just about strong legs. They're about signaling your whole body to build, repair, and stay youthful. Skipping legs to focus only on arms and chest is one of the most common mistakes people make, and it robs them of some of the biggest longevity benefits resistance training has to offer. If you want results that actually matter for your health, your legs need to be a priority, not an afterthought. Recovery is just as crucial as the workout itself, maybe even more so. A smart approach is to rotate between upper body and lower body training days, giving each muscle group 48 to 72 hours to fully recover before you challenge it again. You might train your upper body on Monday, lower body on Tuesday, and take Wednesday off except for light movement like walking. Then repeat the cycle through the week. This isn't about being lazy. It's about respecting the biology of how muscle actually grows. Your muscles don't get stronger during the workout itself. They get stronger during the rest that follows. So skipping recovery is like planting seeds and never giving them water. Now let's move to the second major pillar, which is your diet, and specifically getting your protein intake right. A solid target for most people is somewhere between 0.6 and 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. If you're carrying significant excess body fat, it makes more sense to calculate this based on your lean body mass rather than your total weight, since fat tissue doesn't need the same protein support that muscle does. For someone who weighs around 170 pounds and trains regularly, that might translate to somewhere between 130 and 170 grams of protein a day, an amount that leaves you feeling satisfied, recovered, and strong. But it's not just about hitting a number. The quality of your protein matters just as much as the quantity. Whenever possible, choose whole food sources like grass-fed beef, pasture-raised eggs, wild-caught fish, and organic dairy if your body tolerates it well. Avoid relying heavily on processed protein bars and powders as your main source, since these often come loaded with additives that work against the very goals you're trying to achieve. The reason quality matters so much comes down to a simple principle. You want maximum nutrients and minimum toxins in everything you eat. Conventional, factory-farmed animal products tend to carry more hormones, antibiotics, and inflammatory compounds, all of which quietly work against your health and longevity. The third pillar, and one of the most powerful tools in this entire approach, is strategic intermittent fasting. Fasting triggers a significant rise in human growth hormone, which is often called nature's anti-aging hormone, because of how effectively it helps you burn fat while preserving lean muscle tissue. A powerful strategy is to fast for around 16 to 18 hours and then train right at the end of that fasting window. This stacks the natural growth hormone boost from fasting directly on top of the growth hormone boost from exercise, putting your body in an incredibly favorable state for building lean, healthy muscle without the excess inflammation that comes from constant eating. Fasting does something else remarkable too. It activates a process called autophagy, which is essentially your body's built-in cellular cleanup crew. During autophagy, your cells identify old, damaged components, especially worn-out mitochondria, and break them down so the raw materials can be recycled into newer, stronger, more resilient cellular machinery. When you combine fasting with a challenging workout, you create the perfect 1-2 punch. clearing out cellular debris while simultaneously stimulating the growth of fresh, metabolically flexible cells. This is exactly the kind of catabolic then anabolic cycling we talked about earlier, and it's one of the most effective tools you have for aging well. That said, fasting isn't a one-size-fits-all prescription, and this is especially important for women to understand. If you're a menstruating woman, the week leading up to your period is not the time for aggressive 16, 18, or 24-hour fasts. During that phase, it's wiser to eat within a more moderate 10 or 11-hour window and dial back on fasted exercise, since pushing too hard during this sensitive hormonal window can actually disrupt your menstrual cycle rather than support your health. Outside of that week, most women can safely incorporate fasting followed by exercise and a protein-rich meal, just like anyone else, with great results. Once you've got resistance training, protein, and fasting working together, you can layer in an advanced strategy called carb cycling to take things even further. The idea here is beautifully simple. When you train hard and deplete your muscles' glycogen stores, you create a window where your body is primed to absorb carbohydrates directly into your muscles rather than storing them as fat. Choosing nutrient-dense carbohydrate sources like root vegetables and fruit during this window helps refill your muscles with glycogen. And glycogen brings water along with it, giving your muscles a fuller, stronger, more powerful look and feel almost immediately. The key to making carb cycling work in your favor is protecting your insulin sensitivity, because the less insulin sensitive you become, the less benefit you'll get from those carbohydrates, and the more likely they are to end up stored as unwanted fat instead of useful fuel. Pay close attention to how your body responds. If you notice more belly fat, more cravings, or feeling sluggish after adding carbs back in, that's valuable feedback telling you to scale back the frequency. Over time, as your training consistency and metabolic flexibility improve, you'll develop an intuitive sense of exactly how many carbohydrates your body can handle and exactly when to bring them in for the best results. Here's something people almost never talk about when it comes to building muscle, and that's sunlight. Getting sun exposure on your skin increases nitric oxide production in your blood, which helps dilate your blood vessels and deliver more oxygen and nutrients to every cell in your body, including your muscles. Sunlight also boosts intracellular melatonin. And while most people only think of melatonin as a sleep hormone, inside your cells it actually protects your mitochondria from oxidative stress, helping them function more efficiently and recover faster from the demands of training. Even just 10 to 15 minutes of sun exposure on bare skin most days of the week can make a meaningful difference in how your body performs and recovers. Sunlight is also directly tied to your hormone production, particularly vitamin D, which functions as a pro-hormone in your body and plays a major role in optimizing your sex hormones, including testosterone. Testosterone is one of the single most important hormones for building and maintaining muscle in both men and women, and low testosterone has quietly become an epidemic, especially among men. The combination of resistance training, intelligent fasting, and regular sun exposure creates a powerful natural strategy for supporting healthy testosterone levels without relying on synthetic interventions. You don't need to sunbathe for hours or risk burning your skin. Just consistent, moderate exposure most days is enough to start reaping these benefits. Finally, we arrive at what might be the most underrated pillar of all, and that's sleep. This is when your body does the actual work of recovering from everything you put it through during the day. Prioritizing deep, restorative sleep means creating a cool, dark bedroom environment, minimizing blue light exposure in the evening, and considering something as simple as a sleep mask to block out any remaining ambient light. These might sound like small details, but they have an outsized impact on how well your body repairs and builds muscle overnight, and skipping them undermines everything else you're doing during the day. The timing of your sleep matters just as much as the quality, because your body produces the highest levels of growth hormone between 10 at night and 2 in the morning. If your blood sugar is stable, and you manage to reach deep sleep during this window, your body releases a surge of growth hormone that helps preserve lean muscle, burn stored fat, regenerate your immune system, and even restore collagen in your skin and joints. Eating too late at night can throw off this entire process by disrupting melatonin release and spiking insulin at exactly the wrong time. So giving yourself a few hours between your last meal and bedtime is one of the simplest yet most powerful things you can do. When you bring all of these pieces together, resistance training with the right rep ranges and compound movements, quality protein at the right amount, strategic fasting, intelligent carb cycling, regular sunlight, and deep restorative sleep, you're not just building muscle, you're building a body designed to thrive for decades. This is the difference between chasing quick, unsustainable gains that quietly age you from the inside and building real, lasting strength that supports your brain, your hormones, and your overall health span well into your 70s, 80s, and beyond. You get to look strong, feel incredible, and protect your future all at the same time, and that's a trade-off worth making every single day. Think about the two versions of yourself this choice creates. One version chases fast results, trains in a way that keeps their body inflamed and stressed, and wonders years later why their joints ache, their energy is gone, and their mind feels foggy. The other version trains with intention, respects the natural rhythm between building and repairing, fuels their body with real food, and treats sleep and sunlight as seriously as they treat their workouts. Both people might look similar in the mirror at 30, but at 60, the difference becomes impossible to hide. One is thriving and the other is simply surviving. The choice you make today about how you train is really a choice about which version of yourself you're going to become decades from now. There are countless paths to building muscle, but most of them are built for the short term, chasing size and aesthetics with little regard for what happens to your body 20 or 30 years down the road. What we've walked through here is different. It's a complete approach that helps you build real strength while actively protecting your longevity and your health span along the way. If this gave you a new way of thinking about training, do yourself a favor and share it with someone you care about, because the people in our lives deserve to age strong too. Take care of yourself, stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next one.